With hundreds of thousands, if not millions of video games, there are very few that we can define as generational or genre defining, whether it be their gameplay mechanics, their storytelling, or just the way that they look. And even few of those games can we actually say leave an impact on the player, a mark, a permanent one that carries on for the rest of their lives, whether it's something personal in their life or whether it's just the desire for them to play more of that game, more of that series, or learn more about that story. Final Fantasy XVI is that game. See, my last video that I made on Final Fantasy XVI, which is saying how it was going to exceed any and all expectations, well, I made that before I played the demo. Now I've played the demo. I am not a professional games journalist, writer, reviewer, or anything of the sort. I am an amateur YouTuber and construction worker. I just love making videos, talking about games that I enjoy, and sharing it with all of you, and then we all get to, you know, do that thing where we all love the same thing, and we're all best friends because of it.
Friends who ride majestic, translucent steeds, shooting flaming arrows across the bridge of Himdale.
I like to think of myself as a relatively normal, stoic guy. This demo, this 2.5 hour experience, eviscerated me. It left me awestruck, dumbfounded, mouth wide open, sitting on the couch thinking, what did I just see? What's going on? Why?
Why?
I don't think I've experienced anything similar to this other than maybe the first Last of Us. The very beginning prologue of that where it just killed me. This is exactly what Naoki Yoshida set out to do. He set out to make a game that would bring Final Fantasy back to must-buy status. Something that is so appealing to the mainstream that's going to leave such a wide range of impact on so many different people. And this game is definitely going to succeed in doing just that. Now, the reason why I told you guys I'm a construction worker and not a professional writer is because I'm going to talk about story elements and why the story elements that they use in Final Fantasy XVI's Prologue are so genius in their design, and also make comparisons to The Last of Us, something that I am not a professional at doing. So bear with me, and I hope we both come out on the other end knowing why everybody is so excited about Final Fantasy XVI, how a game with such little hype all of a sudden overnight exploded through a demo.
Warning, this video contains spoilers for Final Fantasy XVI, currently playable on the PlayStation. If you haven't played the demo, then go play it. The save data does carry over. If you don't have a PlayStation, go steal one or borrow one from a friend. Just kidding, don't steal. Or do.
Video games have become excellent vehicles for delivering story, and they've done this through emotional engagement, subverting our expectations, doing great jobs with character development, creating tension, tragedy, and also just their audio-visual excellence. Final Fantasy XVI wraps all of these things all into one, and I want to kind of use The Last of Us as a backdrop for how well this story is delivered. Now, the reason I'm using The Last of Us as an example is specifically because the game, the very first game, was heralded for its storytelling and its character development. And the similarities between the two games and how they execute their prologue is very similar in design. See, at the very beginning of The Last of Us, we're introduced to Joel and Sarah. They're sitting in their house, they're showcasing this loving father-daughter relationship, and it's creating this immediate emotional connection between the player and the characters because we project our own feelings and emotions onto these characters. Maybe we see something that, well, we see in ourselves. Maybe we see our relationship that we have with our parents, or maybe even the relationship we wish we had with our parents. And this is a really powerful tool that storytellers use to be able to connect us to these characters. Final Fantasy XVI does something similar with this at the very beginning of the game as well. When we're doing the combat tutorial with Clive, right afterwards, we're immediately introduced to Jill and Joshua. And Jill and Joshua both come up to us, and they are these loving characters, both really proud of Clive and wanting him to do well. And you automatically see that brother bond between Joshua and Clive. But then right after that, we're also struck with something else that obviously ends up as foreshadowing when his mother arrives. Scornful, disappointed in Clive. You hear in the background as two characters talk about how Clive was not chosen to become the Phoenix. and you see why his mother has no care for him whatsoever. Now, this isn't that same loving father-daughter relationship, but this is also something that many people can probably project their own feelings onto. Maybe some feeling of dissatisfaction with our relationships with our parents or something similar, but it's still something that we can connect with at the end of the day. And I think that's something they're really trying to use to drive this plot forward. And it also gives us insight into Clive's motivations as a character. And this is part of his character development as well, where we see this loving brother that wants to protect his little brother, but also at the same time, we see somebody that desperately wants to prove themselves. And this is something that goes even further right after that, when his father arrives. And while he is scorned by his mother, his father absolutely accepts him. His father is proud of him, and his father is happy to welcome him with open arms. Now, this is going to get a little bit personal because I'm going to be reflecting on my own feelings and my own life experiences, and whether or not you connect with these, that is besides the point, but I'm just using it as an example for how well these stories can connect us to their characters. And in the instance of Joel and Sarah, or Clive and Joshua, when we're looking at these familial bonds and we see how tight-knit they are and how friendly they are with one another, or how they look out for one another, these are things that I myself, and I'm sure other people, will project themselves onto, and sometimes it's subconsciously. It's not necessarily consciously. And it's something that I didn't really realize until I took the time to reflect on the game after I had played the demo. And in this instance specifically, when I'm seeing the relationship between Clive and Joshua, it reminds me of my relationship with my older brother, who was always protective of me and always looking out for me. And also at the same time, the relationship between Clive and his mother and father is also something that I've experienced as well in my life, where I have been the eldest sibling on another side of the family, and the expectations are always much higher for me. And when I'm not meeting those expectations, well, I'm probably not looked on nearly as favorably. So I can understand the drive to want to do more, the drive to want to impress, and this is something that probably rings true for quite a lot of people. Within the first few minutes of Final Fantasy XIV, they are already leveraging our empathy to develop these characters and create an emotional attachment to those characters. We see it with Clive. We already know what his motivations are. His character at the beginning is already fully developed. We see he is somebody that loves his family, loves his kingdom, and also feels that he needs to do whatever he can to prove himself because he wasn't chosen by the Phoenix. We also see that his father is desperate to make sure that he can save his kingdom, that he can protect his people, and also that he loves his family. We see that Joshua feels that he is not the one that should be the Phoenix, that he feels bad that it wasn't Clive to be chosen, and he also doesn't feel like he fits the shoes to be the one to lead his people.
Every man has his duty. Ours was decided long ago, when our ancestors chose to instate the dominant as the Archduke of Rosaria. All to ensure that whenever our nation stood on a precipice, the Phoenix would rise from the flames to drag us back from the brink. The fate of Rosaria sits on the dominant's shoulders. It is your duty to bear that burden.
What about you?
I was born to be your shield. That is why I was given the Phoenix's blessing. To keep our future rulers safe. No matter what. However hard it gets. I'll never let you down.
Now, in the case of most games, this is when things slow down. They're doing their character development, and now it's time for more exposition and more world building and etc. But in the case of Final Fantasy XVI, as well as in The Last of Us, this is where those two games did it the best because they completely subverted our expectations early. Within the first few minutes of the game, we already have Clive's father walking up telling him war is on the way and it's coming tomorrow. This isn't something further down the line. This is something that they need to do right now. We're not going to go on some small adventure where we're going to grow Clive as a character and all that and build these relationships with all these people. No. Fuck that. We're going to war. And this is how it similarly happens in The Last of Us, where we got this little bit of exposition, this little bit of character building, where we see this father and daughter loving relationship, and we see their dynamic between the two of them. And then all of a sudden, oh my God, there's a bloody neighbor shattering through the window. And then all of a sudden the dad shoots it, and now we gotta go. But wait, I mowed his lawn yesterday. No, it's too bad. That motherfucker's dead. We gotta go right now. Being able to subvert expectations so quickly and being able to automatically thrust the player into desperate situations is something that creates a lot of interest and really piques our need to know more about the story. Which brings me to the idea of tension and desperation, which are two things that combine to make us sit on the edge of our seats, drinking up every bit of every action of every moment that's happening on the screen. And this is something that Final Fantasy XVI did incredibly well, and actually did it even better than The Last of Us. See, in The Last of Us, you have to walk through the town while everything is falling apart. You have the scene where you guys are in the car and you're trying to dodge through traffic, and then after that, you're being chased through the town. However, in Final Fantasy XVI, you're put into the perspective of Joshua. You are trying to find your brother, you're trying to find your father, and you're trying to escape Phoenix Gate as it's consumed by an insurrection. These moments where you're playing as Joshua, you feel his desperation because he is standing up for once. He is being the leader that he needs to be, telling the soldier where they need to go, and he's giving it his all to try to get through this place and try to get through it alive. Every moment, every breath he takes, every attack that he makes, every single thing he does takes his breath out of him, and you see him hunch over and take his breath every time he casts a magic spell, or how the lag between every time he uses a melee. You can see how desperately he's fighting, and you also feel the tension in the air because you know things are probably not going to end well. And this is where Final Fantasy XVI chooses to subvert our expectations yet again, where we actually come out victorious as Joshua. We end up saving another soldier. We end up finding Clive and finding our father, and through that we end up actually escaping, and Clive gets to stay behind and end the rest of the forces that were invading them in the first place, taking on this dragoon and coming out victorious, proving himself as a shield. But that victory only lasted for so long. And now that brings me to the final element of this game's incredible storytelling: tragedy and loss. And in Final Fantasy XVI, it's delivered in such a way that I don't really know how to react to it. And honestly, whether or not you're somebody that gets emotional from video game storytelling or not, I doubt that you yourself know how to really react to what happened at the end of the demo either. See, if you think to The Last of Us, Sarah dies in Joel's arms. However, that was a means of being shot by a soldier that was coming by. There was nothing that Joel could have done in that situation, and it wasn't by his own hands that any of that happened. That's not the case in Final Fantasy XVI, or at least that we know of. Clive's desperate cries for Joshua, wanting to save Joshua, only met with a striking headache, a vision, and a transformation into Ifrit.
Come on! You're his shield. Do your duty. Save him.
The sounds of Joshua crying out, wanting this monster to go away, doing everything that he can to protect his family and his kingdom. The squeals and squelches of Ifrit ripping Phoenix apart. The cries of Clive, begging them to stop. The cries of Joshua, begging for his brother to save him. And the explosion at the end. I think the most powerful part of this entire end cutscene was the black screen, where all you hear is the painful screams and squeals of Phoenix being ripped apart. You not knowing what's happening. Then all of a sudden we're thrust into this third-person perspective where we're watching this carnage happen, and there's nothing that we can do. We are Clive, and we are helpless, and we're losing the one that we wanted to protect. How do you do that? Who thinks of this? It's incredible. It really is. It's incredible storytelling because it's so incredibly impactful. It's so powerful. But I still, right now, don't really know what to think about it. The only thing that I can think is, oh my God, give me the chance. The minute I get this bitch in a room, she is dead. She is dead. She is dead. That bitch is dead. I cannot wait to get my hands on this game, and I cannot wait to finish it. I hope this video survives longer than just the initial hype of the game. I hope people come back and watch it after they've completed it, because I'm really interested to know what people's reactions to the story are going to be after they've actually completed the entire game, and then come back and reflect on these kind of topics, because this is incredible storytelling. This is incredibly visceral, mature, and it's something that we just haven't seen in gaming for a really long time. This is exactly what Naoki Yoshida was after. This is something that is going to grip the souls of the people that are playing the game, invest their time into it, and come out on the other end probably traumatized, but also incredibly happy that they played the game. We're not even talking about the combat or the game mechanics or anything else yet. You know, when people talk to me about what is and isn't a Final Fantasy game, what is a Final Fantasy game is some of the best storytelling in all of gaming. Bar none. Hands down. This game may just have the best story of any Final Fantasy game ever. This isn't some Game of Thrones clone. This is far darker, far more visceral, and is going to leave a much deeper cut, a much deeper impact on the players that play this game. If this is your first Final Fantasy game, welcome aboard. Now, I want to close this out with just a couple more things, and I'm not going to take too long on this. I just want to say that none of this stuff, none of these story elements actually work without incredible voice acting, especially by Clive's voice actor. Dude, I felt you in those final moments. Good Lord. Hats off to Ben Starr. That guy is goated. Hopefully he's going to find himself in some more video game roles, and hopefully, definitely, some more Final Fantasy roles in the future. But also on top of that, it's the music. Soken is doing what Soken does best. This is some of the best music I've heard yet from him, and I cannot believe that he continues to outdo himself. This stuff is absolutely fantastic. Without those two elements, the rest of this stuff doesn't work. It is all put together with that music and that voice acting, and all of it together with the story elements just turns into this incredible masterpiece that is probably going to put me into therapy. So yeah. Anyway, thank you guys for watching the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys are also emotionally scarred just as much as I am, and also can't wait to play more Final Fantasy XVI. I'm noticing that I'm actually getting some newer viewers on the channel, so welcome to all of you. Thank you guys for coming by. I also thank you guys for all the kind words as well. Leave it to the Final Fantasy fans to leave nice comments. I really appreciate it. If you guys are enjoying the videos, like and subscribe. Drop a comment down below. Let me know other things you'd like me to talk about in the future. I also stream as well, sometimes on Twitch at the link that I'll post here on the video, and then also down in the description below. But I also think I'm going to start switching to stream a little bit more on YouTube as well. So, yeah, we have a Discord link down below if you'd like to come and discuss other RPGs and more Final Fantasy. You guys are welcome to. Outside of that, stay cool, stay righteous, stay safe, my friends, and I'll see you in Valistia. Peace. Oh, by the way, I have a cat.